as they call it. So today I had a really tricky day. I got up and there was a clamp on our car, and it was because we hadn't paid a parking fine, and I've got a number of parking fines going, and usually they're because of mistakes, and sometimes we forget and they never accept that they're mistakes, and this parking fine got unpaid, and I was going to try some tricks on, and I didn't get down to it, and then they said basically I just let it go, and didn't deal with it, and they sent a bailiff and he put a clamp on the car. So I called a friend I know who seems to know a lot about law, but coming from it from a very different point of view, and I asked, lots of things happened, and I asked for a signed warrant, because it was my belief, it was what this friend said, that it was necessary to have a signed warrant, and they could only come up with a kind of unsigned warrant, not signed by a judge. So basically what happened is in the first place it was a £97 ticket. The bailiff to get the clamp off was £350 plus the £100, so it's £450 total. And because I called the police and I asked the police to enforce the law, and that that they didn't have a signed warrant, and the police didn't really understand the law about it, and they had a whole consultation. It went on and on and on for hours, and eventually a sergeant came, and then the sergeant had to call his superior, who said that as long as there is a signed warrant somewhere in the world, they think that is enough. And so I basically, and then at some stage, I said, get me a signed warrant, and he went off and he came back and it wasn't signed, and I said, but it's not signed, and eventually he lost his rag, the bailiff, so he then called for a lorry to tow it away, and I said, no, it's all right, I'll pay. He said, no, it's too late, I've called for the lorry, that's another 250 quid, so it's now up to £701. And and I had a little chat with him, with the bailiff, and I said to him, I said, tell me something, do you have any moral problems with what you're doing? And he said, no. I said, what happens if someone's got a car, let's say it's worth £5,000, and they've not paid a parking ticket for whatever reasons, maybe very stressful, maybe they made a mistake, maybe they just don't want to think about it, maybe money is tight and they just don't know how to get the money, and eventually they didn't realise quite what's going to happen, and then the bailiffs turn around to their place and say, we need £500 cash or credit card, and they don't have the money. So what happens then? So then, the car gets £5,000 gets towed away. They're at the £700 mark. It then gets towed somewhere in Essex, and he believes, although we don't know this yet, that it stays there for 2 weeks, accruing £100 a day storage fee, right? Storage fee for their car that they have taken your car, and you have to then pay them £100 a day storage fees, and after 14 days, so that's 1,400 quid, I suppose, or something. I don't know, I'm making up 100 quid, let's say, and it accrues a debt of £2,000 or something. I'll get the details for you guys. And then that car goes to auction, right? And they auction it off, and of course it's only worth £5,000, and at auctions, it goes to auction and it only gets £3,500, because the auctions are full of people buying all this stuff that the bailiffs have nicked, right? So it only gets £3,500, and so these poor couple who are seriously in debt, maybe, or just about making ends meet, couldn't come up with the £500, were all credit carded out, had no £500 that they could get their hands of at the moment, and they've now had their car taken away, and basically, be lucky to get back, £1,500 for their £5,000 car, and all the inconvenience and Essex and everything, So, I mean, my goodness, that is legal. I mean, how? If that's legal, then what's happened to the law? The law there must be something seriously wrong with the law to allow that to happen. and that is happening at the say of councils. So I spoke to the guy, and before I paid the money, I decided I can't cope with the stress anymore. I have to pay the money, and I'll try and get it back later through the court system, through the legal system, maybe. And so I just sat in his car, and I said to him, Grant, I said, what would you do if your mum? I said, can you give it to me at the lesser price, 450? He said, you just make it up, make it up as you go along. Oh no, I can't. He says to me, I can't. Because we already ordered the lorry. Yeah, he can't, right? So anyway, I said to him, if your mum did this, what would you do? She said, well, she'd never not pay a ticket. Oh no, good little mum she is. Always pay your tickets. Don't even ask any questions, right? I said, okay, fair enough. What if she did though? He said, well, I would, yeah. I'd clamp her car, and I'd teach her a lesson. And I said, wow, teaching. Oh right, okay, so you're out to teach people lessons, and in some senses, there is some truth in that. There are lessons that everybody can learn from these things, and lessons certainly that I can. And, that's a little bit disturbing, though, because, well, I'll leave it to you. Why it's disturbing that that's his attitude, that he would actually do that to his own mother, and that's legal, Maybe some lawyers would explain to me how they can actually work in a system in which that is legal.